Alright everybody, so we're doing another tabletop video, primarily because you know how I am about other people being present when I'm at the range. I kind of clam up and don't talk because I'm really socially awkward and anxious. And I just like can't bear the thought of people like watching me talk to the camera at the range. So, because I feel like I come off, if you see somebody doing that kind of thing in public, I feel like you probably immediately assume that they're like, some kind of wannabe YouTube star or like narcissistic or something. And um, I would like to pretend that none of that applies to me. It's not for me to judge, I suppose. But, anyways, I figured I would get some of the necessary talking out of the way in this video so that whenever we go to the range footage in the next video, um, we'll already be all caught up. So, as per usual, we're starting off with no magazine in the weapon and an empty chamber that you might not be able to see. Now you also may have noticed that the grips here are not the ones that I've had. These are the original grips that came with the pistol. Of course, they were black when I got them, but I decided to experiment. I don't know if the lighting is going to capture that very well. I decided to experiment with recreating a similar color as Soviet plum. If any of you are AK guys, then you know what I'm talking about. Maybe um, sometime in, I want to say, the 80s, some of the AK like 4Ns, pistol grips, magazines, etc. started coming out in this. I'm not sure if it was actually Bakelite or some form of polymer, but it had this plum color to it, like a really dark, almost black purple. Like in most lighting, it looks black, but when you're in like proper sunlight, it's this really dark, slightly brownish purple color. And I love that color, so I decided to try my hand at spray painting these grips to match that color as closely as possible, and I think I did okay. Um, I did it with the original Rock Island grips because this logo medallion here I think is ugly as shit personally. So if I fucked these up, no big deal because I was never going to use them anyways because I thought they were ugly. Uh, but I went ahead and ordered just a really dirt ass cheap set of black plastic grips that look like the GI brown ones that I've had on this pistol in previous videos. Um, same like shape and cut or whatever, same texture, just black. And I'm gonna try doing this to those. And I might end up just rolling with those if the color turns out well. Anyways, totally inconsequential to anything about like the actual point of this series. Something that is important to the point of this series is that I got a new goodie today. It's a Metal Form magazine. It's a 9-round flush fit. I've got some live 115 grain FMJs in here just for the sake of demonstration. Fuck. It's been a long day. It's like, oh yeah, it's almost 3 in the morning, and I haven't slept yet. But anyways, I'm just gonna be careful with these. Um, just to say like, don't try this at home. Obviously, I'm a professional dumbass. So the thing is, you may have noticed this front rib that I already showed you. With pretty much all the rest of my magazines, I think all of them, there's a spacer at the back of the magazine down here, which is not true for this Metal Form. That front rib is a sort of spacer in the front so that the base of the cartridge is flush to the back of the magazine. And so since it sits further back, I'm hoping that these Metal Form magazines will retain the cartridge better when the gun is cycling. And to show you what I mean, I've essentially had two types of malfunctions. There was one like failure to, I think, extract that I had. Only the one ever. But all of the other malfunctions have fallen into two categories. Either one is the infamous nosedive, which seems to happen with any caliber of 1911, where the nose of the cartridge slams perpendicular into the feed ramp. I've talked about that one before. The other type of malfunction, and the one that's been more challenging to deal with, is that at times, whenever you go to chamber a round out of a magazine, not every time, but sometimes, the next round after that one pops right out of the feed lips. And, this is annoying enough when you're like, you've got the pistol empty, you chamber around, you put the safety on, you set it down somewhere, or you put it in your holster or whatever. You might have that situation and you just don't know it if you don't know to look for it. And that can cause a malfunction, because I have been shooting this pistol before and had the same thing happen while I was actually shooting it, and it will induce a malfunction. What will happen is there will be a round partway into the chamber and then another live round right behind it that isn't retained by the magazine. And of course that geometrically just does not work. So it jams up the pistol and you have to strip the magazine out. And, once the magazine comes out, that second live round will fall out of the magazine well, and the slide will close on the first live round as it was originally supposed to. I think I've mentioned this malfunction before. I've described it before. I've never had it with any other pistol. And what I'm finding is that it's a particular quirk for the 9mm 1911. And what I've heard, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, is that it might have something to do with the spacer in the magazine. So what I've done is I just chambered around off of this Trip Research Cobra mag, I think it's called. It's like the only magazine that Trip Research offers for 9mm. You can get them in like black or stainless, and I just have the black one, obviously. The thing is, I can already hear it in here. A round fell out of the magazine as I chambered that first one. So you saw me, I closed the slide on a full magazine from an empty chamber. And I'm going to tell you right now that a round did successfully chamber. You can kind of see it in there. So it chambered that round, but the thing is, as soon as I press the magazine release, the magazine is going to come out, but on top of it, I'm trying to see if I can get this on camera, but also catch it. You're going to see that a live round is going to come out on top of this magazine, loose from it. Yeah, you see that rolling around in my hand there? You saw that I did not press that out of the feed lips. That just fell out that way. And in fact, the round that's still there, the top round in that magazine, set forward some. So it's obviously not where it's supposed to be in this magazine. And so I'm hoping that the front spacer here on the metal form will help to alleviate that problem, because I've noticed just sitting here messing around with it that whenever I chamber around off the metal form mag, and of course now that I'm filming, this would be like the one time that it would go wrong, but you can see the round didn't really scoop forward much in this magazine. That's more than I've ever seen it scoop forward, chambering around off this metal form mag. So I'm hoping that the front spacing situation and whatever else metal form does with their magazines might alleviate that problem, or at least make it exceedingly rare. So that's what we're going to be looking at in the next range video. We're still going to be shooting all the other magazines, the Wilson Combat, the Trip Research, the Metgar, the original Rock Island one. We're still going to be doing all of those, but I'm throwing in this metal form too. And hopefully, if I get any malfunctions at all, hopefully the metal form at least will run totally smoothly. Because I really do think it's going to be less prone to that second round drop. I don't know what else to call it. I think it's going to be less prone to that. And so as long as it doesn't nosedive either, and there's no problem actually getting the rounds out of the magazine to begin with, then the metal forms are probably going to be the winner of the magazine competition for me. See, the situation is, normally you would think Trip Research or Wilson Combat make a great product, because by all accounts, they do usually, but the thing is, I think if you have an actual 45 1911, then yes, Wilson Combat, Chip McCormick, Trip Research, whatever, those are going to be your answer for an original 45. For 9mm, I think the spacer thing, among other quirks of it, makes it so that something like the metal form might be a better option. They don't have. I can't tell really what the magazine spring's power is. I might put an extra power magazine spring in there. It might have one already, and I just can't tell. I don't know if there's anything going on with the follower that's particularly different, etc. But that front rib alone, I think, is so much of an advantage in that, with this particular malfunction I'm talking about, that alone for a 9mm, I think that's so important. So if it really does work the way that it seems to, I think that's going to be a game changer for me and this pistol. So, I don't know that I have a hell of a lot else to say. Yeah, I suppose that's about it. Next video in the series is going to be another range trip. I don't know when that's going to be. I need to get some ammo. I might wait on those grips. I might not. Also, the weather's getting pretty shitty out here lately. There's going to be a lot of rain this week. And you may have seen before that the range that I go to, unfortunately, turns into a complete and total mud pit every time. Like, it's some fucking... some World War I shit out there when it rains enough. So I don't know. I might use that to my advantage, and like hopefully the range would be more empty, like less people going. If it's just like shitty and rainy all the time, that might not be the case. I don't know. Of course, when it's all crappy and muddy like that, like I don't want to go home and spend half an hour scraping fucking mud out of my shoes. So I wouldn't be setting up a target or anything for sure. I'd just be popping range trash. But the point of this series is not necessarily my shooting, so I don't know if that really matters for the intent here. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna be testing out all the same mags plus that metal form, and I don't know if I've got like one or two malfunctions on camera, I think, excluding the situation with that EGW magazine release where it would malfunction every time with the Vickers Tactical mag, or Wilson Combat thing. Anyways, yeah, excluding that, where it was like a known problem where it would happen every time guaranteed, I think I've only caught like one malfunction on camera, which is funny because off camera, like it's definitely happened more than that. Though I think most of them, if not all of them, happened like the first 2 times that I took this pistol out. The last video I did, I kept shooting after I stopped filming, and I don't remember having a single malfunction. So I'm also wondering if maybe like the pistol needed broken in a little bit. I don't know. Because I did inspect the feed ramp and all that shit, and I didn't see or feel any obvious spots where there was like a rough edge or anything like that. It seemed pretty well done to me. I'm honestly kind of surprised at the craftsmanship on this pistol, considering that it's a rock island. Like I was expecting like some really egregious tooling marks inside and noticeable rough spots here and there, but I haven't actually seen any of that. Inside this pistol looks pretty all right. So I can say that much for it. It really seems like it just suffers from the same pitfalls that 9mm 1911s in general seem to have an issue with. Again, if you go to some boutique brand like Staccato that has their own proprietary things going on, specifically meant to address some of these issues, then, I mean, yeah, you're going to be better off that way. But compared to just a straight up conversion of a 45 9mm to a 45 1911 to a 9mm like this is, where it's not particularly redesigned in any sort of way aside from just like the barrel and the feed ramp geometry and shit like that, and of course like the spacer magazine, those are some of the very few changes made to accommodate 9mm here, and I think it's that trying to put 9mm into this that makes it just a little funny, but I'm thinking that with the right combination of magazine catch and magazine and recoil spring, and maybe also magazine spring, hopefully I can get it to work. If not, again, I've mentioned multiple times in previous videos that like I never really expected it to in the first place. That wasn't necessarily why I got it. I wasn't planning to take this thing to war. I was, planning to just fucking plink with it because I think it's cool. So, no skin off my nose if it never becomes like super reliable. But if it does, if I can actually get this thing to run, better than it does, because it does pretty much run. But if I can get it to be like actually reliable, that would be really cool. I would feel very accomplished with myself. Like this feels like a fun challenge to me. Um, just to learn a few things about what in particular is going on here and what could be done about it potentially, and to try to put that into practice and go out to the range, and it's like a big old experiment. um, yeah, I love this shit. I love tinkering around with this fucking with this thing and just seeing what happens. And if I can get that positive result, man, that's gonna make my fucking day. Anyways, I'll probably go ahead and end this one here. So I'll see you at the range.